So, almost 24 hours we have got without the Fever's new signing attacking Fever fans.
And a Fever just signed, if you drew up a political activist and created one in a lab.
The Indiana Fever were on track to build a winning team, with Caitlin Clark leading the charge. They had a solid game plan, a strong supporting cast, and a fan base that was more excited than ever. But then, unexpectedly, they made a move that caught everyone off guard, signing Brianna Turner. Within 24 hours, she went from being a promising new addition to becoming a public relations nightmare.
To have your team sign that could bring in and torch your locker room, I mean, literally come in, light it on fire, and burn the entire locker room down, and immediately raise the antennas of anybody in the fan base that's actually paying attention. And it makes you wonder, are we in a situation now with the Indiana Fever? Does their front office understand exactly what their new fan base is? And by new fan base, I mean
The Fever fans barely had time to celebrate Brianna Turner's arrival before social media went into overdrive. Why? Because Turner had a history of subtly taking shots at Caitlin Clark and her supporters. Fans quickly dug up her past tweets, and what they found wasn't just a single controversial opinion, it was a pattern. One tweet, in particular, ignited the internet. After Iowa's historic season, despite finishing as NCAA tournament runners-up, Turner tweeted, "Iowa will hold." A celebration to honor the NCAA runner-up, all players and coaches expected respectfully. "I'm confused. Is this what a runner-up typically does?" sat first. It might have seemed like a simple question, but fans knew better. It wasn't just about Iowa. It was a direct jab at Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeye fans who supported her. The same Caitlin Clark who had just revolutionized women's college basketball. The same Caitlin Clark who led her team to the finals with record-breaking performances.
I mean, look, they just inherited like three times or four times larger fan base than they ever had before. Who do you think we are exactly? I'm just wondering, because I think this team's going to be a lot better. I know Stephanie White's trying to build defense. I get it. Find it somewhere else. I'm just going to keep it.
Indiana Fever fans were quick to take offense. This wasn't just some random player commenting on college sports. This was now a member of their team openly mocking the star they had supported. It was a terrible look, one that Turner seemed entirely unprepared for.
And by the way, she's already shown she is going to let what people say on Twitter.
At this point, you'd think Brianna Turner would realize her mistake, maybe backtrack, clarify, or even offer a simple apology. But no, that didn't happen. Instead, when fans called her out, she doubled down. Her response? "Feel free to unfollow me or block me if that is bothersome to you." No clarification, no apology, no attempt to connect with the Fever fan base. Just a blatant dismissal of the very people she was supposed to win over. That's when everything spiraled out of control. The Indiana Fever front office surely didn't anticipate this level of backlash when they signed Turner. On paper, she was supposed to be a defensive asset, a veteran presence to help Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston lead the team into the future. But within less than 24 hours, she turned the fan base against her. And once that happens, it's almost impossible to come back from. Social media erupted, Fever fans were furious, and some demanded Turner be cut immediately. One fan tweeted, "We were excited about defense. Now we're defending Caitlin Clark from our own player." Another added, "She just got here, and she's already telling us to get lost? Nah, cut her now." This wasn't just a few angry fans. It was an overwhelming reaction. Turner had successfully alienated the very people she was supposed to connect with, and the worst part? She didn't seem to care. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. This wasn't just about one tweet. This was about the ongoing divide in the WNBA, and Caitlin Clark, unfortunately, found herself at the center of it. Since entering the league, Clark has been treated differently, not just by the media, but by other players too. Some, like Angel Reese and Chinedu Carter, have openly gone after her on the court, while others, like Turner, have taken shots online. The pattern is clear. Some players resent the attention Clark gets, and instead of embracing what she brings to the game, they've chosen to push back against it. Let's be clear, Caitlin Clark isn't the first great player to enter the WNBA, but she is the first to bring this level of national attention. She's the reason games are selling out and TV ratings are skyrocketing. Yet some players still see her as a threat rather than an opportunity. Turner's tweet wasn't just about Iowa. It was a shot at everything Clark represents: the changing landscape of women's basketball, where for the first time, a rookie is the face of the league. And it backfired spectacularly. The Fever front office now finds itself in a tough spot. They thought they were making a smart move by signing Turner, but they've created a PR nightmare. Fans are against her, and that's unlikely to change. So now, the question is, what do they do next? Do they try to smooth things over, convince Turner to back off, and hope the fans move on? Or do they cut their losses now before this becomes an even bigger distraction? Because here's the thing. This isn't just about Turner anymore. It's about the culture of the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark is their franchise player. She's the reason they're relevant again. Every decision they make needs to be in her best interest, because without her, this team is just another struggling WNBA franchise. Does keeping Turner make sense? She's not a superstar. She's a defensive role player who just made herself more trouble than she's worth. If the Fever want to build a championship culture, they need to start acting like a team serious about winning. Keeping a player who has alienated the fan base and disrespected the franchise's star is a mistake. At the end of the day, this is Caitlin Clark's team. If Turner can't get on board, she doesn't belong there. The Fever front office needs to realize this sooner rather than later, because one thing is clear: Indiana Fever fans aren't going to forgive this. And if Turner stays, this controversy isn't going away anytime soon. Brianna Turner's tweet debacle wasn't just another WNBA Twitter moment. It became a defining controversy for the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, and the league itself. The backlash wasn't just from fans. It sparked discussions across sports media, basketball forums, and even among players. At first, the Fever stayed silent, possibly hoping the situation would blow over. But as hours passed, it became clear this wasn't going away. The longer they waited, the worse it got. Fans were relentless, demanding answers. Would the Fever address it? Would Turner apologize? Would the front office act before this became an even bigger disaster? But instead of taking control, Indiana let the situation spiral. It wasn't just a social media battle. It had real-world consequences. The Fever weren't just dealing with fan outrage. They had a locker room to manage. Caitlin Clark had barely settled into her new role, and now she was dealing with a teammate who had already mocked her success. The tension had to be palpable. The Fever coaching staff had worked hard to create a positive environment, one where player,